The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. Picture yourself backstage, heart racing like it's trying to escape your chest. The air feels electric, almost suffocating with anticipation. In moments you'll face thousands of people, and here's the kicker. You're basically nobody on this lineup. The guy who just spoke, the Dalai Lama. Before him, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And before that, Richard Branson himself. You're essentially the human equivalent of a commercial break, squeezed in when the budget for actual celebrities ran dry. The imposter syndrome is real, folks. This was Vishen Lakhiani's reality at 33. Standing there in ripped jeans, steadied by a sneaky shot of vodka from the lobby bar, he was about to walk into what could either be his moment or his complete humiliation. He stepped out, locked eyes with that sea of faces, and shared one idea: how to live an extraordinary life, not by accident or dumb luck, but by following a specific code. By the time he wrapped up, people were crying and jumping to their feet. When the votes came in, this nobody gap filler tied for best speaker with a famous CEO and actually outranked the Dalai Lama himself. So what did he say? What was this secret code that hit people right in the soul? That's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're diving into a book that sold over 1 million copies and been translated into more than 25 languages. A book born from that very speech, written by a guy who went from getting fired twice and crashing on couches to building a global movement around completely rethinking success, happiness, and what humans are actually capable of. This is The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. And here's my promise. By the end of our time together, you won't just understand the 10 unconventional laws in this code. You'll actually see the invisible matrix of rules that's been quietly running your life, and you'll get the tools to become the architect of your own reality. Stick with me, because what's coming isn't just a summary, it's an awakening. Let me ask you something. When you were a kid, did anyone ever sit you down and ask you to consciously choose your religion, your nationality, your beliefs about money, love, or what a successful career looks like? Yeah, probably not. For most of us, these massive, life-defining beliefs got installed in our minds long before we could actually think for ourselves. We just absorbed them from our parents, teachers, and society at large. It's like being born into a video game where all the rules were programmed by people who died generations ago. Vishen calls this invisible world of rules, beliefs, and traditions the culturescape. Think of it like this. A fish is the last creature to discover water because it's been swimming in it forever. Same thing with us. We're swimming in the culturescape, completely blind to how its currents are steering every single move we make. It whispers what you should do. Get good grades to get into a good college. Get into a good college to land a safe job. Work hard. Save money. Retire. Rinse and repeat. This was Vishen's exact path. He did everything right, studied computer engineering at a top university, landed the ultimate tech internship in the 90s, Microsoft. One day, he found himself at a barbecue at Bill Gates' actual house, standing just feet away from the man himself. He'd made it. This was the summit, the reward for following all the rules perfectly. But standing there in that moment of supposed ultimate success, this awful feeling washed over him. He realized he'd been walking in the completely wrong direction the entire time. He hated his job, dreaded the work. The dream was actually a nightmare. He felt so out of place that he couldn't even walk over and shake Bill Gates' hand. So what did he do? Quit? No way. He was too terrified of disappointing everyone. Instead, he deliberately goofed off, playing video games at his desk until his manager had no choice but to fire him. That moment of spectacular failure was actually his first step toward freedom. It was when he decided to stop playing by society's rules and start writing his own. This brings us to the first law of the extraordinary mind: transcend the culturescape. Extraordinary people get that most of the rules society hands us aren't absolute truths. They're just suggestions, ideas made up by people no smarter than you or me. They see the water they're swimming in, and they realize they can choose to swim in a completely different direction. But how do you figure out which rules to break? Vishen has this hilarious and super memorable name for these outdated, nonsensical rules we follow without thinking. He calls them Brules, a mashup of bull and rules. A brule is basically a bullshit rule we adopt to simplify how we understand the world, like the rule that you must get a college degree to be successful, or that you must marry within your own ethnicity or religion, or that hard work has to feel like torture. Vishen's first encounter with a brule happened when he was 9. A McDonald's opened near his home in Malaysia, and he desperately wanted a Happy Meal. But he'd been raised Hindu and told he could never, ever, eat beef. But why? He asked his mother, who wisely told him to go find out for himself. After some research in his encyclopedia, he came back with a theory. Ancient Hindus probably didn't eat cows because they were useful for plowing fields and providing milk. Plus, they were gentle animals with beautiful eyes. "Mom," he argued, "we have a dog, not a cow, so I think I should be allowed to eat a burger." His mom agreed, and with that first bite of an honestly overrated burger, a dogmatic rule shattered. He learned he could actually question the rules. This is the second law: question the Brules. Once you start spotting Brules everywhere, you realize something profound. Your entire reality, your beliefs, your habits, your worldview, is programmable. And if it's programmable, you can be the programmer. This is the heart of Vishen's framework, something he calls consciousness engineering. Sounds complex, but it's beautifully simple. Just like a computer, your mind has two key components: hardware and software. Your models of reality are your hardware. These are your beliefs. Beliefs like, "I'm not good at math," or "money is hard to come by," or "I'm not the creative type." These are the foundational structures determining what you think is possible. Your systems for living are your software. These are your habits: how you eat, exercise, work, manage relationships. These are the daily programs you run. The problem? Most of us are running on ancient, outdated hardware and buggy, inefficient software we inherited from the culturescape. Consciousness engineering is the practice of consciously choosing your own beliefs and designing your own habits. It's about upgrading your inner operating system. This is the third law: practice consciousness engineering. So how do you upgrade your hardware, your models of reality? This is the fourth law: rewrite your models of reality. Your beliefs aren't just thoughts floating around. They have a physical, measurable impact on your life. Vishen shares this fascinating study. Researchers went to a group of hotel maids who, despite doing physically demanding work all day, didn't consider themselves to be getting any exercise. They were about as fit as someone with a desk job. The researchers did something ridiculously simple. They took half the maids and just explained that their daily work, cleaning rooms, vacuuming, changing sheets, was actually great exercise. They showed them how many calories they were burning. They simply changed the maids' belief about their work. A month later, they came back. The maids who'd been given this new belief had, on average, lost weight and lowered their blood pressure. Their bodies had physically changed, not because their actions changed, but because their model of reality had changed. Think about that for a second. Your world reflects your beliefs. If you believe you're unattractive, you'll act in ways that confirm it. If you believe you're not enough, you'll constantly seek validation and sabotage your own success. Vishen shares a deeply personal story about this. For years, he carried the belief that he was unattractive, just a nerdy kid with acne and thick glasses. This belief absolutely crippled his confidence with women. Then one night at a college dance, the prettiest girl in the room kissed him and told him, "You're fucking hot." In that single moment, his old model of reality shattered and was replaced by a new one. Nothing about his physical appearance had changed, but his confidence soared, and his dating life completely transformed. Soon after, he started dating Christina, who would become his wife. This is the power of rewriting your models. Once you've upgraded your hardware, it's time to install better software. The fifth law is to upgrade your systems for living. These are your daily habits for everything, from productivity to health to parenting. Extraordinary people don't just work hard. They're constantly hunting for better, more efficient systems. They read books, take courses, experiment. Vishen suggests establishing what he calls non-negotiable set points. This isn't about setting pie-in-the-sky goals. It's about defining a minimum standard you will not fall below. For him, it's being able to do 50 push-ups at any time. If he ever struggles with that, he knows his health system is slipping, and he immediately takes action to fix it. You can have set points for anything. Reading 2 books a month, having a weekly date night with your partner, meditating for 15 minutes a day. Set points prevent backsliding and ensure you're in a perpetual state of growth. So you've started questioning the rules, you're engineering your consciousness, and you're upgrading your inner hardware and software. You're moving into a state of serious personal power. But where do you direct that power? This brings us to what might be the most mind-blowing concept in the entire book. Vishen calls it bending reality. He discovered this during one of the lowest points in his life. His new company, Mind Valley, was hemorrhaging money, and he was on the verge of laying off his staff. He was stressed, anxious, and miserable, caught in this cycle of chasing success, believing he'd finally be happy once he hit his revenue goals. Then, an insight hit him that changed everything. Stop postponing your happiness. Be happy now. He realized his happiness shouldn't be tied to his goals. The joy should be in the journey itself. So he made a radical shift. He focused on making work fun again, on celebrating small wins, on being grateful for what he already had. And something wild happened. The moment he did that, his business exploded. In just 8 months, revenue grew by 400%. He went from near bankruptcy to having his first $1 million month. This is the state of bending reality. It's the ultimate state of human existence, and it has 2 components. 1, you have a bold, exciting vision for the future that's pulling you forward. 2, and yet you're completely happy right now, before you've achieved that vision. When you live in this state, you're not pushing yourself toward goals with grim determination. You're being pulled by a vision, and it feels like play. And because you're radiating happiness and gratitude, it's like the universe conspires to help you. The right people, opportunities, and ideas seem to magically appear. You seem lucky. This is the 6th law. Bend reality. To live in this state, you must master the art of being happy right now. Vishen calls this the 7th law. Live in blissipline, the discipline of daily bliss. He shares 3 powerful systems for this. First, gratitude. Instead of focusing on the gap between where you are and where you want to be, focus on the reverse gap. Look back and appreciate how far you've come. Second, forgiveness. Holding on to anger and grudges is like poison that suppresses your happiness and creativity. Vishen describes this powerful experience where neurofeedback equipment showed his alpha brainwaves, associated with creativity and peace, spiking dramatically the moment he truly forgave someone who had wronged him deeply. And third, giving. The simple act of doing something kind for others is one of the quickest shortcuts to happiness. Now, what about the other half of bending reality? The vision for the future. This is where the 8th law comes in. Create a vision for your future. But here's the trap. Most of us set the wrong kind of goals. We chase what Vishen calls means goals instead of end goals. A means goal is a stepping stone. Get a good GPA is a means goal so you can get into a good college. Get a good job is a means goal so you can make good money. We chase these so that goals, thinking they'll lead to happiness, but they often just lead to the next means goal in an endless chain. An end goal, on the other hand, is a goal that's beautiful and joyful all by itself. It's not a means to anything else. It speaks directly to your soul. End goals aren't about getting a diploma. They're about the joy of learning. They aren't about climbing a corporate ladder. They're about doing work that feels meaningful. To find your end goals, Vishen proposes you ask yourself the 3 most important questions. 1. What experiences do you want to have in this lifetime? This covers your love life, friendships, adventures, and environment. 2. How do you want to grow? This covers your health, intellect, skills, and spiritual life. 3. How do you want to contribute? This covers your career, creative work, family, and community. When you answer these questions from your heart, you bypass the Brules of society and connect with what truly makes you feel alive. Your vision becomes a blueprint for your soul. As you get better at this, you reach a new level of emotional and spiritual strength. You become, in Vishen's memorable terminology, unfuckwithable. This is the 9th law. Being unfuckwithable means you're so at peace with yourself that nothing anyone says or does can throw you off balance. Your self-worth comes from within, not from external validation. You're immune to both criticism and praise. There are 2 keys to this state. First, your end goals become self-fueled. Instead of a goal like, be in a loving relationship with my partner, which depends on another person, a self-fueled goal would be to be consistently surrounded by love. This is a feeling you can generate yourself through self-love, friendships, and family. You have absolute control over it. No one can take it away from you. The second key is to deeply, truly believe that you are enough. So many of us are driven by this deep-seated fear that we're not smart enough, not good enough, not worthy enough. We spend our lives trying to prove ourselves, but when you realize your worth is inherent and unconditional, you stop seeking validation from others. You become fearless. And what does a fearless person, guided by a powerful vision and fueled by their own happiness, do? They change the world. This brings us to the final, 10th law: embrace your quest. The most extraordinary people don't just have jobs or careers. They have a calling, a mission, a quest. It's the contribution they feel uniquely compelled to make to the world. For Elon Musk, it's making humanity an interplanetary species. For Vishen, it's revolutionizing global education. Your quest doesn't have to be that grand. It could be raising conscious, kind children. It could be creating art that moves people. It could be working for a company whose mission you believe in. When you're on your quest, work dissolves. Life becomes an adventure. You don't always choose your quest. Sometimes it chooses you. It comes as an intuitive hit, a flash of insight, a persistent idea that won't let you go. Your job is to listen and to have the courage to take the first step, even when you don't know where the path will lead. And so the code comes full circle. You start by breaking free from the rules of the world around you. You then master the world inside you. And finally, you return to the world and leave your mark, pushing humanity forward in your own unique way. You go from a life that happens to you, to a life that happens from you, and finally to a life that happens through you. You become a vessel for something greater than yourself. And that right there is the essence of an extraordinary life. As we step back and look at the code of the extraordinary mind, it's clear this isn't just another self-help book. It's a manifesto for a completely new way of living. It's an operating manual for the human mind, written for the 21st century. What I find most powerful is how Vishen demystifies these grand concepts of purpose, happiness, and success. He takes them out of the realm of fuzzy philosophy and grounds them in a practical, engineering-based framework. The analogy of the mind as a computer, with its hardware beliefs and software habits, is brilliant because it's so empowering. It tells us we're not stuck with the mind we have. We can upgrade it. We can debug it. We can install new programs. The idea of bending reality is particularly transformative. We live in a culture that glorifies the, quote, a hustle and grind mentality, where happiness is supposedly the reward you get at the finish line. Vishen flips that completely upside down. He argues, convincingly, that happiness isn't the result of success, it's the fuel for success. By cultivating joy in the present moment, through practices like gratitude and forgiveness, we actually accelerate our journey toward our biggest goals. It's a profound shift from a life of striving to a life of thriving. But perhaps the most liberating idea is the distinction between means goals and end goals. How many of us are climbing a ladder only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall? By asking the three most important questions, what do I want to experience? How do I want to grow? And how do I want to contribute? We're forced to look beyond society's definition of success and connect with our soul's true desires. It's a simple exercise, but it can radically reorient the entire trajectory of your life. So how can you start applying this today? First, become an observer of your own mind. Start noticing the Brules you live by. When you find yourself thinking you should do something, pause and ask, is this my rule, or is it a rule I inherited from the culturescape? Just asking the question is a powerful first step. Second, practice blissiplin for just 5 minutes a day. Tonight, before you sleep, think of 3 things you're grateful for from your day. And then think of 3 things you appreciate about yourself. This simple act rewires your brain to focus on the positive and builds the foundation for lasting happiness. And finally, dare to ask yourself the 3 most important questions. Don't worry about the how, just dream. What experiences does your heart crave? What growth would make you feel alive? What contribution, big or small, would give your life meaning? Write it down. Speak it out loud. Give your vision a voice. That was a journey through the Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. We've explored the core laws and walked through the framework that has helped millions of people redefine their lives. But a summary, no matter how detailed, is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The real adventure begins when you step onto the path yourself. If the ideas we've discussed today have sparked something in you, if you feel a stirring of possibility, I encourage you to pick up the book. The real magic isn't just in knowing the code. It's in the personal journey of applying it, seeing your own Brules dissolve, and watching your own extraordinary life unfold. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas that shape the world's most successful and fulfilled people, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.